Mark Easterbrook.
Yes, why am I here?
Miss Jessie Davis. Found dead this morning.
I don't know what it's got to do with me. I didn't know her.
But she knew you. Can you think of any reason why your name might be on a list?
Am I in danger?
Well, nearly all the people on it are dead.
Roger Ormerod, Hubert Parkinson, Renee Sanford. That list is a list of victims. It's going to be us next.
No, it won't. We're not guilty. We need a lawyer. My Fifth Amendment.
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching stuff you love, when you want, how you want, wherever you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood, and as you know, in Roman numerals, the Fifth Amendment is represented by a V, and V stands for victory, which is not what the 300 centurions achieved, because I think they all died at the end of that movie.
But they almost did. They got real close.
That's right. They were victors in our
heart. Which makes us better than them because we have done 300 episodes.
There it is. We landed it. Thank you. Good night. Table flip.
Yes,
we're over.
Yeah.
300 episodes.
Yeah. It doesn't feel that many, honestly. Or maybe I'm just getting old. Time's passing faster for me.
Maybe we are old. I'd hate to. Never mind. We're not old. We're immortal, and we will never die.
That's true. Also immortal, and joining us for our 300th episode, Clyde Harvey of the VOD Squad.
Hey, everybody. I'm super honored.
Dude, thank you so much for joining us, man. This is a big moment.
Absolutely. I've been waiting for you guys to call me, but you never
were
call.
Waiting until the 300th episode before you came on the show, just to make sure it was going to stick around. Right?
I would love to believe he's got the email all ready to go, his fingers poised over the enter button, and he's like, no, hold.
We hit episode 200. He's like, nah, I should wait. 250. Yeah. Not quite yet. No.
Nope, this feels right. Boom.
Oh, man. It's so good to have you along. Let's get right to our primary target. Well, the Oscars were last night, and only like 25 or 26 million people watched it, but I was one of them. I watched it for you. That's a side story, is that with streaming and the decline of cable, ratings in general are going down. The Oscars is no exception. Still a lot of people watching, though. And as we told you on previous Cordkillers, Netflix had 24 nominations, 10 nominations for The Irishman, and Brian, Netflix came away with 2 Oscars.
What were the 2 Oscars for?
So Netflix has been dominating the documentary category for years now. It won for American Factory, which is a documentary created by the Obamas company. They were not there, but it was from their documentary company. And then Laura Dern netted Netflix its first acting Oscar for A Marriage Story. Laura Dern took away the Best Supporting Actress award.
I never saw Marriage Story. Is she like one of the adults?
She's a lawyer. She's a divorce lawyer.
Oh, yeah. So one of the adults.
I mean, they're all adults except for the kids.
Okay, so real quick. Anyway, look, here's the important part. Can we just gossip about the Oscars? Because I was a bit surprised about who won.
Now, I'm loath to do this, Brian, because I was also surprised about who won, and I really wanted them to win. But I hear that you have an opinion that is going to pour cold water on my enthusiasm for that.
No, I think it's great. I think that Parasite, and forgive me, I can never remember the name.
Bong Joon-ho.
Yes. Absolutely is a super talented cinematographer, storyteller, tells really good. Essentially, it seems to me like a lot of them follow a Twilight Zone-y kind of template where you spend 2 acts building up one thing and then he gets distracted and goes in a crazy third direction. I like them a lot. I also liked Shakespeare in Love. But was Shakespeare in Love the best picture of 1999? I don't think it was. I think that Saving Private Ryan was. Likewise, I question as you read the articles on all of this, it seems like everybody's excited not about how good the movie was, but they're excited about what a surprise it was that not the movie everyone expected to win won. And I suspect that history will not be terribly kind to this particular Best Picture trophy. Now, I think that's all I'm saying. Now,
but who would you have win? Who would you have win?
First of all, it ain't my decision.
You're just saying Parasite didn't deserve it.
No, I didn't. I chose my words very carefully.
Well, that's a very sneaky way to say it. But
will not judge this kindly.
I think you'll probably be wrong. I think this movie is the best picture of 2019. And I didn't see all the movies, so I'm standing on what I saw. It was my favorite movie of 2019. My favorite movie of 2018 was Roma for Best Picture. It did not win. My favorite movie of 2018 was the fish movie with the fish sex.
Finding Dory.
The Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water. And it did win. I'm only saying that to say, like, sometimes my favorite movie wins Best Picture, sometimes it doesn't. Historically, it doesn't. I didn't think Parasite was going to win. I think it's absolutely deserving. And I think what history will judge is that this was the moment when people recognized the value of Korean cinema and overcame what is an actual deterrent to people enjoying this film, which is if they don't speak Korean, they have to read subtitles. There was no dub of it in order to acknowledge that it is an innovation and it is the best picture of 2019. And I say that because I don't think I would give this to anything else. 1917, pretty close. I saw all the nominees this year, and I could see some of the other nominees making a case, and if they had won, I wouldn't have been shocked. But I don't think it's going to be like that myself.
Well, before I kick it over to Clyde, I will confess that I do think Joker was a superior movie to this. I thought it was flat out a better, more balanced movie. It set up things at the beginning that paid off at the ending in a more balanced kind of way. And here's the fun part. It seems like the best movie, you could say it's the best movie without invoking the fact that it's the first ever foreign language movie.
Okay, that's a criticism of press coverage, so I'm not even going to bother getting into that. That's a whole separate topic, right?
To me, I guess what I'm saying is,
I wouldn't say like the fact that headlines are saying a first ever, both first foreign language best picture, first Korean best picture. I don't think that undermines its credibility or bolsters it. It's just acknowledging a fact. And those are big deals, especially if you're Korean.
I'd say that if any movie was going to do this, I'm not surprised that it was Parasite, because Parasite was probably the first movie in this genre, I guess, for lack of a better word, that was so accessible by everybody. It had much more mass appeal than like his other movies like Okja or even Snowpiercer was his movie, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of they were great movies, but they were very niche, where Parasite had much more broad appeal, being that it was the human drama and intrigue, and I think the language was secondary.
I agree. And in fact, I agree so much that it bothers me that nobody could stop bringing up the language. But that's my own, that's.
I mean, it's a problem though, right? Because it's bugging you, because you're like, well, if it was the best picture, it should stand on its own merits. And you're absolutely right. For whether it was best picture, it shouldn't win best picture because of what language it was in. But once it's won, would be unfair to say, let's pretend it's not the first, movie in another language to win. Let's pretend it's not from Korea. That'd be silly.
Sure. And that's totally fair to say in terms of the press coverage, but I suspect that it's being said all the way down And again, I'm going to go back to Shakespeare in Love.
If I may, Brian, I think you're bugged by the fact that a lot of people out there are probably jumping on the Parasite bandwagon because they're like, hey, I want to feel positive about a thing rather than actually caring about whether it's the best picture or not, or even having seen it.
And I think I would like to believe that I would be equally bothered if Joker had won Best Picture and everybody couldn't shut up about how it's a comic book movie that won Best Picture.
Yes, it absolutely would have. That would have been a thing. You know it would have.
I agree.
No matter what, you would have had people railing against this. If Joker had won, or if my pick Jojo Rabbit had won, everybody would have been, people out there, the internet would have exploded that, the only reason that Parasite didn't win is because of the language. No matter what, there's going to be people that are just want to yell or dismiss the winner.
I agree. I will say, just full disclosure, my favorite would have been Jojo Rabbit. That would have made me the happiest. I do think Joker was probably the best crafted movie. But it sounds like, did everybody else on the panel, you guys thought Parasite was the best movie of the year?
I saw all the Best Picture nominees, and for me, Parasite was the best of them. 1917 was the second best. Jojo Rabbit, Joker, it starts to get a little weird about how to separate them, as far as like which one's better than the other. But yeah, for me, Parasite was thoroughly unexpected, great cinematography, innovative, good through line. With all these things, though, I mean, when it comes down to it, this isn't an objective science,
of course,
and so there's no way to prove one was better than another. Mm-hmm. That's why I say, like, if Joker would have won, I wouldn't have been shocked. If 1917 had won, I would have been very much like, yep, that's what I expected, because that's the one everybody thought was going to win.
What about the rest of you guys?
I didn't see Parasite, but I don't go to a lot of movies. But I will say Parasite was probably one of the only movies that I didn't see that I was actually interested in. And from what I've heard from everybody, it sounds like something I will end up watching. But
I think I mentioned this before. I only saw 2 of the movies up for Best Picture, one of which was Parasite, and the other of which was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I feel pretty solid that I really enjoy Parasite. It's my favorite of those 2.
All right, let's before we move off of this, just quick take. Do you think that Netflix didn't get, 10 nominations for The Irishman, and it got nothing for that? It's Martin Scorsese. People love Martin Scorsese. Is it a backlash against Netflix, or is it just, it just wasn't the best? It was, as far as the Academy thought, anyway.
Full disclosure, I've not seen The Irishman. However, I know that as we've been talking about, all of these awards are kind of inherently political. They're voted on by the Academy, and the Academy, once they've given to charity at the office, they don't feel like giving to charity again. And I think that they had never given to charity again. I don't want to act like Parasite is charity. It felt novel and original to select the Best Picture as a foreign language film. So I think that an awful lot of people wanted to do that. Meanwhile, those same people remember having given awards to a lot of the folks involved with The Irishman and didn't feel necessarily the need to do it again this year. So I think it's an
it was
indictment.
A backlash against somebody who had won before, which is very normal for the Oscars, versus a backlash against Netflix particularly.
And not just a person, but a whole crew of characters. I mean, it's like we've seen an awful lot of Scorsese, we've seen a lot of De Niro, we've seen a lot of all those other guys whose names I'm already forgetting.
Al Pacino.
Yeah. I read that as more of a backlash against Scorsese, as the industry saying, how dare you put this on Netflix and not, but that's just my personal take.
And there were 14 other nominations, and they only won 2 of those. So, there's more going on than just the Scorsese stuff. I don't know. I feel like it's complicated. I don't think you can say there wasn't a backlash against Netflix at all, but I don't think that's the reason it didn't win all of these nominations.
Well, maybe
it wouldn't
it's
have
less
got
of
24 nominations if there was a strong backlash.
Maybe it's less of a backlash and more of a, Yeah, well, again, back to the metaphor of I gave it The Office, where it's like, yeah, I did the thing where I supported Netflix. A couple of years ago, I voted for that one movie. No, I want to vote for this other thing.
Well, and I think The Irishman and its performances, honestly, Joe Pesci is the only one where I would look at it and go, man, that's an Oscar-winning performance. The other performances were great, but they weren't necessarily De Niro's Oscar-winning performance. They weren't Pacino's Oscar-winning performance. And so when it comes to that, if you've got things that are close, then I think that's where the Netflix is like, oh, no, I don't want to be against Netflix. I'll nominate. But then when you're voting like, oh, but I'd rather give it to this deserving person. And Laura Dern overcame that because her performance was so good.
Yeah.
All right, folks, our performance is entirely dependent on your support. In other words, we don't perform if you don't support us.
No, I'm glad that you finally, a lot of people I've seen on the gossip rags have been speculating about this for a while. I guess it's time for us to come out and say it. Every episode before we do Cordkillers, we have a secret phone call where Tom and I decide how good we're going to be. And the question's always the same. How much money are we making per episode? That is directly going to determine how good we are, how many patrons we have. And,
in fact, if somebody leaves the patron in the middle of the show, you can tell our performance gets worse.
I'm sorry, I was distracted. What were you saying?
I don't know, something about Patreon.
No, look, here's the important thing. We want to please you. We want to serve you. We want to stay loud, live, and independent. Do us a favor. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Join our over 1,250 bosses and become part of the brave and the proud.
Oh, man, we just got a new patron. We're going to kill it the rest of this episode. Let's get to how to watch. Oh, man. Subscription fatigue is coming for you, baby. It's like Satya Mania. CNBC reports that according to sources, Viacom CBS is working on a new streaming service that would combine, here's the key, combine CBS All Access with Pluto TV, Nickelodeon, BET, MTV, Comedy Central, and Paramount Pictures, because they're all the same company now. Service would offer ad-supported and ad-free tiers, just like CBS All Access does now, including a premium tier, which would be adding Showtime to it. So it's essentially just an add-on of Showtime. The name of the service and pricing is not determined. This is all from CNBC sources, but the base service would reportedly cost less than $10 a month. I feel like a lot of the reactions I saw to this were like, oh, great, another service. But this is that if these sources are right, which they may not be, it would be CBS All Access saying, we're going to raise the price a couple of dollars and give you a whole lot more and maybe call it something else.
Like CBS Max.
Or, yes, via CBS Access Plus.
Oh,
CBS Time.
What's interesting is this is an opportunity to do what we had talked about previously, which is the thing I personally hate about HBO Max is that it's called HBO Max. It should be called something else and give you HBO as one of the services that comes with it. This is their chance to do that because
this is their chance to say Peacock was the right idea, but maybe not the right word.
Right. Well, so what they're going to call it is Schlong TV. No.
Well, no, remember I made the joke when Peacock's the logo. So I guess if CBS wanted to change the name, they'd call it The Eye.
The Eye. Sure. But specifically, here's their opportunity because I don't believe that they would fold all of this into as a premium tier for CBS All Access because they did the hard thing, which is investing in that name very early on, putting a lot behind it, building up quality programming and good brand recognition. It would be insane to like we talked about, you don't buy a Cadillac in the hopes that you'll get a free pack of Twizzlers. And so I do feel like they could launch a new independent Viacom, call it the V or whatever, and then say, oh wait, Viacom Discreet, the VD, but the
V.
Digital, Viacom Digital.
You're gonna end up in the streaming wars, the V versus the cock.
Yeah. But my point is they have the opportunity to create it as an independent thing and then have the one last thing be the mic drop of you also get CBS All Access with it.
What do you think, Clyde?
I'm interested in this. I'm always on the lookout for more content. I think more is always better. More options for people. It makes perfect sense that they would bundle everything together. I know people have gotten hung up on the HBO Max thing mainly because of the name, which I never had an issue with because it's HBO. It includes Cinemax, so wouldn't you call it HBO Max?
Except it doesn't.
Instead of Cinebio.
Except it totally doesn't, and that confusion that you're experiencing is the exact reason that it's a terrible name.
All right. Yeah, well, you're right. But I mean, naming aside, I find it intriguing. I have not subscribed to anything CBS in almost 10 years because they were always reluctant to allow their content to be anywhere. So, yeah, maybe this will be the thing that brings me back.
This is also an interesting continuation of the story that we were talking about where Nickelodeon originals are going to many Nickelodeon originals are going to Netflix, partially because, as we speculated, Netflix deeply wants to compete with Disney Plus by being able to say, we have children's content, and let us say the word Nickelodeon and imply that the back catalog of Nickelodeon is there, even though the Nickelodeon back catalog is not going to be there. This package has it out of the gates, but I wonder what that does in terms of, who gets to more loudly shout the word Nickelodeon between this service and Netflix.
Man, I don't know. They're saying the sources are saying that the service will cost less than $10 a month. Right now, the CBS All Access ad free is $10 a month. I'm starting to think that the move here is to say, hey, guess what? Everybody who has CBS All Access, you now have a ton more content. You've got Daily Show. You've got all the Star Trek movies. You've got BET, MTV, Nickelodeon, etc., and Pluto TV. And you didn't have to pay a dime extra. Oh, by the way, those of you who have been holding out on CBS All Access, well, guess what? Now you've got all of it. Check out all this stuff. It might be time to get in the tent, and we didn't raise it a dime because I think you make enough money off increased subscriptions in that case that you don't need to raise it, even a couple of dollars. Then I think that's the move, is just add all this stuff to the existing property that you've already developed and then hope that, enough people notice that you're like, oh, wow, this has got kids stuff. Like you say, this has got movies I want. Whether you change the name or not, honestly, I think you could just leave it CBS All Access and say like, well, Viacom CBS is the name of the company, but CBS is the name of our television arm. Paramount is the name of our movie arm. And so we just leave it as CBS.
Tom?
So it's CBS All Access and now with All Access.
Yeah, with actual access. Right.
Tom, because I hate that idea and think it's stupid and it's following in the footsteps of HBO Max, which was also dumb and stupid, I am convinced you are correct. I am 100%
why do you think
convinced.
This is stupid?
That's exactly
I get
what
why you
do.
think HBO Max is dumb and stupid, but why would it be stupid to say like we have an existing base, add more to that and bring people in?
No,
because
anytime you can offer people like full access to a catalog for a valuable price, you potentially got a gold mine.
Because if I walked up to people on the street and said, hey, I will give you $100 for every property that you accurately tell me is on a service called CBS All Access, but the money stops the moment you get one wrong, they will name all the CBS properties and then they will stop talking. They will never mention a Nickelodeon property. They will never.
But that objection is just about the name. So maybe you're right about that.
Correct.
But I think the key here is that they bring the content into the existing service. They could relaunch it with a different name too. And just say, you know what, this is now the
now
Great Eye.
that I would hate less if they launched it under its own name and at least pretended like it was its own standalone service and then said, by the way, congratulations, you all get new service X or V for free by virtue of already being, a member of the I.
What if they called it Pluto?
That'd be all right. I think.
Yeah,
because
I don't hate
Pluto
that idea.
to most people doesn't mean anything to begin with, and if anything, Pluto is a nebulous idea that is like, oh, that's the service that has just a ton of stuff I've heard of before, right? So that might be the right call, is to make that and then say, hey, everybody who's on CBS All Access, you get Pluto for free.
You are now Pluto.
Yes.
Like everything is there.
The question is, if they did that, would that put Pluto more as a competitor to the over-the-top services like Sling and YouTube TV?
Yes.
Or position it?
More importantly, it would factually, retroactively make Pluto a planet, which is the part I'm most excited about. Its gravitational pull would be unstoppable.
Right. Yeah. It would legitimately change astronomy. So I'm for it. No. Yeah. Actually, this is a pretty good suggestion. Bad Weave says, but people who have Pluto would say, "Oh, now I have to pay for Pluto. Screw that." That is
Pluto Max.
And you could just call it Pluto free for the existing
Pluto Plus.
No,
there's
not
a lot
enough
of
people know about it yet. I don't know.
I think Bad Weave actually has a good point. That does kind of roll back my enthusiasm for it.
Mm-hmm.
Pluto,
if you remember back to when Hulu got rid of their free thing, they had the free tier and the Hulu Plus, and then they did away with the free tier, and a lot of people, why would I want to pay for Hulu?
And look what happened to it.
I know it was terrible. It never recovered.
Okay, you've pulled me back, man. This is a real ping pong match, man. I can't get enough of both sides of this.
This is good stuff. Obviously, we must have picked up more patrons because look how good this conversation was. All right, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under Surveillance.
Altered Carbon's coming back to Netflix on February 27th, and there is a new trailer out for it. It's kind of a teaser trailer. I think it is a teaser trailer, in fact. But, of course, Anthony Mackie taking on the role of Takeshi Kovacs this time because jacket copy spoiler, in this universe, you can put your consciousness into what they call sleeves, which are basically different bodies. So you don't always have to be in the same body. Hence, different actors can play Takeshi Kovacs, and Anthony Mackie's playing him in season 2.
Question. This is very similar to, what they do with Doctor Who. Somebody else plays the Doctor every so often. Right. But everybody on Doctor Who always plays their own version of the Doctor. There are different mannerisms, different takes.
Yeah.
Theoretically, this is the exact same character with the same mannerisms.
It's the opposite.
Just in a different suit.
Right. Yeah. How do you think that changes things?
Well, the person who started Takeshi Kovacs now has set the template of what he's like. And it's a really interesting challenge for the next actor to go, okay, how much of that was a result of the sleeve, right? Like the way he walked maybe, and how much of it was Takeshi Kovacs, patterns of speaking, ways of thinking, etc.
It's what's my motivation to the extreme?
Yeah, right.
Well, and I guess now that the moment I said that, all they have to do to make it more of a Doctor Who thing is insert one line of a scientist with a clipboard saying, as you know, you're never truly independent of your sleeve. Some mannerisms seep in. That's why there's always small changes in people. Goodbye. And then they walk off screen.
In that tone. Yes. In fact, Brian didn't want anyone to know, but he'll be playing that Doctor in season 2 of Altered Carbon.
In fact, that was the read of it. They're going to use it as a voiceover. They're just going to run with it.
Because it's a computer Doctor. No. I can't remember if I think they do mention something like that in the books, the book Altered Carbon, about how there are certain things that are variable because you're in a different endocrine system, you're in a different musculature, but certain things are consistent and always there from time to time. I think they play with that idea in the book. So rather than just use it as a cheap excuse for the actor not to have to follow it. I hope they lean into what the book did and kind of emphasize the things that are the same from character to character.
You know what's funny is I did that. I just said that as a joke, but the moment I said that, I thought, you know what though? Like if the sleeve I was in was like hunched over, I bet I would have kind of a sour demeanor through most of the day, and my back would hurt, and it probably would affect my character at all times.
If someone gets my sleeve, they're going to have a thyroid deficiency. It's really going to change things. Anyway, I'm actually excited. I like. It took me a long time to get through Altered Carbon season 1 because I love the book so much. I think it was getting in the way. I didn't read any of the further books, so I'm really excited to just experience season 2 fresh.
Very cool.
I never read any of the books. I burned through that first season, and I've been waiting for this season since the minute I watched that last episode. So.
Excellent.
I'm excited.
27th. During the Disney earnings call, Disney CEO Bob Iger announced that The Mandalorian is coming back in October. Also mentioned that The Falcon and Winter Soldier, also with Anthony Mackie, is premiering in August, and WandaVision set to debut in December. So we got the release dates now.
Man, oh man, we buried the lead again, Tom. That's because we didn't have enough patrons. What a shocker. The Mandalorian coming back.
No, it's not that it was coming back. It's the October, like we know when. I think a lot of people thought it might come in November. They might try to drop it in December. Coming back in October seems like it's a little closer, actually.
If I were to guess, I would assume they already had been hard at work on the second season behind the scenes, and only now they're mentioning it. But it's like,
no, yeah. No, we actually talked on the show about Jon Favreau, saying, yeah, Mandalorian season 2 underway, all of that. So that's not been a secret. It was getting the date that Bob Iger dropped. That was.
Has anybody mentioned anything about episode count up to this point? Because the first season felt really short.
I haven't seen anything about that. Yeah, but my guess is going to be the same.
I hope it's the same because I actually didn't find the first season so short. But specifically, Tom, what I wanted to speculate on is whether or not in the wake of the recent Star Wars movie coming out, and almost universally people agreeing that the reason it wasn't as good as many people wanted is because it was rushed by Disney, I'm wondering whether or not there's a shorter runway for the second season of Mandalorian than there was on the first season, and whether or not that's anything that we should be worried about. Because if there was a reason to be worried about it, it would be, I don't know, like the final episode of a 9-episode long movie series being released earlier than it should have, and because of that, not being as good as it should.
I mean, everybody, I don't know. I don't know if I buy the conspiracy theories about Rise of Skywalker or not. And if they're Kathleen Kennedy's call, not Disney Plus. Obviously, Mandalorian also a Lucasfilm thing, so I'm not sure.
But not a Kennedy joint as.
But I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure how much that matters. And the other thing that makes me resistant to that idea is it's television. Everybody knows in television you get a lot of time to prepare for episode 1, and then you're on the mill. Right. And I don't think that would be a surprise to Jon Favreau or anything. And television's just used to that. So I wouldn't think that would be like the undoing. No one's ever had to do a television series in the same, that's just not true.
Well, especially given the fact that this is a serialized Western in the vein of those week after week gristmills from the 1950s. Right.
And only 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So,
I think they would suffer much more backlash from the fans if they did like a Westworld and waited like 2 years between, especially since they're half-hour episodes and there's only 9 of them.
Or Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones waited a long time, said we need to take a time to get it right. And then a lot of people were like, yeah, I don't like the way you got it.
That's a really good point. I think you guys are both right.
Yes, we are.
I would like to become a patron to this podcast.
Finally, Amazon's free streaming service, IMDB TV. That's the one that you can get as an app in the IMDB website, has advertising, but you don't have to pay anything for it. Has acquired the rights to more than 20 TV shows from Disney. That includes Desperate Housewives, My So-Called Life, White Collar, The Glade, and Ally McBeal coming in April. All are headed there along with Lost and Malcolm in the Middle. Those two will be exclusive to IMDb TV. So Lost won't show up on Disney Plus. Lost is showing up on IMDb TV starting May 1st.
This is a really curious niche. I believe twice in the last month or two, I ended up watching IMDb because it ended up being the free option. Like I wanted to show my kid Short Circuit, and IMDb TV was the one that happened to have it. The commercials were awkwardly placed, but it seemed, it was cheaper than $2. Same thing with the movie Real Genius. I wonder if Ally McBeal has the chance to kind of carve out that frenzy kind of niche where it's just really good waterfall television. Because am I remembering right? Robert Downey Jr., that was his bounce back role after Rehab, was as a curious character on Ally McBeal.
I don't remember that, but that does ring a bell. Ally McBeal, Malcolm in the Middle, Lost, Desperate Housewives, they all feel like that weekday afternoon rerun fare, right? Like you just turn on the independent channel and it's like, oh, it's an old episode of Ally McBeal. I don't know how that works with a source where you have to intend to watch it. But because it's free, there's no harm in that. I also think it's really interesting that Lost is being given to IMDb TV as an exclusive, given to Amazon. Amazon owns IMDb TV by Disney. You could say, oh, that's because they don't value it. Nobody cares about Lost after that horrible ending. I don't think that's true. I think it shows that we're not seeing everybody decide to hoard everything inside the walled garden. There are still, just like there were before, reasons why it makes more sense to sell rights off or lease rights off to somebody else than to keep it yourself sometimes.
Bryce, did you ever finish Lost?
I didn't, and it makes me wonder if like Lost is on Hulu right now. So does that mean Hulu's going to lose Lost?
That would be starting May 1st. It would go away from Hulu.
So if you're currently watching it, you need to finish it up.
Yeah, that's
or just wait and watch it on IMDb TV because it's free.
Yeah. This is a tech question, but if I watch a lot of stuff on my TV with the Apple TV, so if they don't have an IMDb TV app, then I probably won't use it.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I just went to...
Oh, you do have an IMDb TV app. I believe it's in the Prime Video app.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. That's clever.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I looked it up on justwatch.tv for both Short Circuit and Real Genius, and it pointed it to me, and it ended up taking me, I want to say, to the Amazon website. I might be wrong on that.
So I wonder, because IMDb TV is its own separate app, but obviously it's owned by Amazon, which has Amazon Video, Amazon Instant Video. That synergy almost seems weird because talking about Disney giving this up, yes, they're technically giving it to IMDb, but like in the example of if I can watch IMDb TV on the Prime Video app, what is the difference between these two services? I guess other than being ad supported, obviously, but...
Yeah, exactly. I think they're just making, how Prime Video has channels accessible. You can add a channel. IMDb TV is a channel that you don't have to pay for it. So it's just added. It's like, oh, it's from our supported channels, you can pay for Showtime and watch this, or you can watch this on IMDb TV here.
See, I was curious about that myself because when I looked into this previously, the official answer on how to watch IMDb TV was go to IMDb, search for the show, and click watch.
Sure.
There was no mention anywhere of apps or channels. So yeah, if you can get it in Prime, that's cool. Otherwise,
I'm prepared to have someone angrily tell me I'm wrong. But
welcome to the new title of the show. I mean, which, by the way, has always been the subtitle to the show.
Yeah,
it would be in their best interest to do it that way because having to watch it in your browser, for some people that's great, but for most people like me, it's a barrier to entry. If it's not on my TV, I'm not watching it.
Can I watch IMDb and Prime Video? We'll find out shortly. Let us know. Cordkillers@gmail.com. All right, let's talk about things we've had our eyes on recently. Starting with you, Clyde. What have you been watching?
So I found a show recently. It's an older show called Toast of London. I don't know. Have you guys seen this?
No.
It stars Matt Berry. Most of you would know him from The IT Crowd or What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show.
Oh, my God. Is he not Nandor? Laszlo. He's Laszlo.
Yes. And so it's a British show. He plays like a mediocre actor. There's a lot of him dealing with his agent and just kind of the stuff. Not quite as stiff as the extras. Episode 2 had me just rolling. It was so funny, but definitely recommend it. It's on Netflix. Then a couple other things. I finally watched the second season of Impulse, which was a YouTube original that's set in the Jumper universe, because they never made a second movie, so they made the TV show. Was really
Jumper
cool.
was the whole conceit is people could teleport from place to place. How is Impulse different? Same conceit?
So it's in that universe. It focuses on a girl that as she starts figuring out that she has these issues, and then they really dig in and broach a lot of the issues and details that they kind of glossed over in the movie. It's not for the faint of heart. There's some serious issues that some people might find disturbing, but it's definitely worth a watch if you can. And awesome. And then the last thing was season 2 of Miracle Workers is out. If you haven't watched that, it's a TBS show, Steve Buscemi and Harry Potter.
Daniel
First season, Steve Buscemi played God, and they were the rest of them were angels trying to figure out how to keep God from killing or destroying the earth. Season 2, it's an anthology, so season 2 takes place in medieval times, and it's really funny.
Sounds like so same cast, but different.
Yeah, same cast, just completely different characters.
That's cool. Kind of like Blackadder or American Horror Story, I guess, another example of that. All right. But, those are all great. I love these because they're recommendations from outside the wheelhouse that Brian and I sort of share. So check those out. Toast of London, Impulse, and Miracle Workers. Brian, what about you?
Man, a lot of the same stuff. Did I mention last week that I sat and watched the movie Frequency from 2000?
Yes, you did.
We did talk about that last week. In that case, I guess the most interesting thing I watched was Lock and Key. Checked out episode 1. How far into that did you make it?
6 episodes.
Okay, so I can't really talk much about it outside of to say it was really wild. Well, we'll save it for Spoilerin time.
I'll save most of it for Spoilerin time. I did not like episode 1. I didn't hate it, but I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this series. But I'll watch episode 2, and the next thing I knew, I was on episode 4. I just kept going.
A bit wild. I've been afraid to hand the graphic novels to any of my children because the graphic novels have such amazing, haunting imagery to them that are so dark and so it's some of the scariest stuff I've ever read. And shortly before the ending, I remember being terrified that the good guys are just going to lose. And I had never, really experienced that I was a little bit cautious. And in episode 1, they sort of soft-sold a lot of that stuff. They went a little bit out of order from the comic book. It didn't feel as brutal, as fast. There was a little bit more of a flat explanation of like, so anyway, these are the rules of this crazy world. Now let's move on. And I liked all of that with my kids in the room because it made it easier. And I remember pausing to check out what the TV rating for it was, and then feeling this wave of relief when I realized it was TV 14. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I feel like it's the CW version of Lock and Key.
Correct.
And I don't mean that as a pejorative.
Right.
It is good, but it is a glossier version than the graphic novel.
Also, wasn't that the failed pilot? Was it a CW? There was a CW version of Lock and Key that never got released.
That, but you're right.
Yeah.
So it all makes sense, right? Yeah. I'll add to that Outsider. Man, everybody like Buzz Park, who does the Sword and Laser meetups, has been telling me this. Everybody's been telling me I have to watch Outsider. So I finally was like, all right, fine, I'll watch Outsider, and I'm caught up. I just couldn't stop. Really enjoyed it.
We will talk about this during Spoilerin time, but I don't want to say I'm falling off, but I'm definitely behind, and that sort of happened organically on its own without me trying to fall behind.
This week's episode picks back up.
I was going to say too, like I caught up because I ran out of Outsider to watch on Saturday night. I'm like, oh, but a new one's tomorrow. So I will be interested what my feeling is when I have to wait a week between,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Bryce, what should we be on the lookout for?
Hey, we got. I wanted to have a little update here. An on the lookout alert. Look out. Better Call Saul is coming back February 23rd. That's about 2 weeks from now. And Netflix US just today got season 4. So if you were like me and are rewatching Better Call Saul to be ready for season 5, then Netflix has got you hooked up. If you're outside of the US, I believe Netflix had the distribution rights to Better Call Saul already, so you probably already saw season 4, which means you'll probably start seeing season 5 every week in a couple of weeks, in about 2 weeks now. And I'm sure we'll cover Better Call Saul's 5th season here on Spoilerin Time, but everybody check out Better Call Saul season 4. Season 4, a lot of good stuff, a lot of big stuff happens. Jimmy's on a pause from practicing the law. We got the new guy Lalo, who is causing trouble. Mike, I just rewatched the second episode today, and that's the one where he sneaks into the Madrigal factory and starts like giving them like penetration testing their facilities and stuff, and just making them look like a joke. So, Better Call Saul now on Netflix.
So that's the final season, right?
No, the 6th will be the final season.
That's what I'm saying. The one coming up.
One more after this one.
There's one more.
The upcoming season.
Yeah,
is
this
season
is season 5.
Right.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I looked it up. According to Amazon.com, IMDB TV is available through the Prime Video app on smart TVs, mobile devices, Fire Tablet, and other tablets. It is also available in the IMDB app for Android and iOS, as well as Echo screens, devices, Apple TV, and more.
Awesome.
Cool.
There you go. All right. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Brian.
Yo.
Over to you.
Yeah, hey man, just a quick reminder. Guess what makes this show possible? Not only your fantastic contributions, but the hardware provided to us by our friends over at Doghouse Systems. If you go to doghousesystems.com/v/rogue, use promo code ROGUE at checkout, you'll get something extra and bonus for freezies. And more importantly, you will be lending support to an institution that made it possible for us to be loud, live, and independent. Thank you so much to our friends over at doghousesystems.com.
Listen, I'm not going to say that if you buy a Doghouse system, Bryce's Doghouse system runs better.
But I will say that he gets to keep
it.
it.
Doesn't.
Oh, my goodness.
Exactly.
All right.
All right, let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Netflix has done it. Ladies and gentlemen, it added an option to turn off autoplay trailers that play when you stay on a movie or TV selection. Congratulations, Earth.
So I assume it's very easy and organic. Like the moment it pops up, it makes it very easy for you to click on it. There's probably not some kind of menu.
Just stop. Okay, just settle down over there. It's not that hard. You go to manage profiles, you choose your profile, and you uncheck a thing. Okay? My God, kids these days. They just want everything handed to them.
Am I crazy? I liked and used the autoplay trailers.
Well, then don't uncheck it, Bryce.
I'm not
no one said it was the law.
Oh my God.
I did. The part that drove me nuts was the video game that I had to play of like, first you load the page and it starts shouting at you. Then you move the cursor away and like, well, put it off of that. And then you hover over the thing that you're about to want to watch. And then it plays you a clip from an episode you saw like 3 weeks ago. And it starts autoplaying on there. And you find yourself like trying to position the cursor right in between multiple things so that just for one blessed second, it's not screaming at you.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss that game.
Now, some people are saying it doesn't work in the Roku, so it may not have rolled out.
It does. It takes time.
It just takes time to catch
mine.
up.
It took a couple days, but one thing to note, the native Windows app does not stop. So there probably needs to be an update.
All right. So there you go, folks. Leave on, be in the Bryce camp and enjoy it, or turn it off. You now have the choice.
Disney announced that its Disney Plus streaming service has reached 26.5 million paid subscribers. Analysts had expected 20 million or more. 50% signed up directly and 20% through Verizon. Disney Plus is expanding into Western Europe in March. And March will launch in India March 29th through the streaming service Hotstar. which is sort of redundant. ESPN Plus subscribers reached 6.6 million, and Hulu reached 30.7 million. Disney announced its intention to expand Hulu internationally in 2021.
Are you throwing shade on Hotstar?
I think that's just a funny name. that's like Cold Fridge.
Well, there are cold stars that are relatively cold.
Or Fast Run.
I would buy a fridge called Cold Fridge. I want a cold fridge.
What about Grow Tree?
Dry
Infect
house.
virus.
I love that.
So you buy hot point stoves, right?
Perfect point. None of this is surprising. I think people expect Disney Plus to do well. It did a little better than people thought. And the fact that most people signed up directly, but a lot of people signed up through Verizon, or they signed up through a referral or with a bundle, or through an app, etc. This is all good news, and I'm liking the idea that Hulu is going to expand internationally. If you remember, they have a Japanese version, but that's licensed out. That's basically Hulu, the company, licensed the name to someone in Japan that operates a service that uses the name Hulu. I'm curious if they'll continue that arrangement or if they'll change it. But everywhere else, there just isn't any Hulu, so it's a big opportunity for Disney.
Do we think Hulu is going to lean on its originals internationally as much as because here in the United States, there's still a reputation of it's the place you go to watch, other people's stuff. Do you think they'd lean into that internationally as well?
Yeah, I think they would. And they're also, I found this hilarious not hilarious. I found it odd, actually. On the Oscars, the advertisements for FX shows ended with FX on Hulu, as if it was a Hulu original, even though these are shows that are also going to be on the channel FX. So they're really pushing the FX shows as if they are also Hulu originals. And I think that will feed that as well.
Wasn't that because the FX stuff wasn't going to be considered on Disney Plus because it wasn't super family friendly, so they were putting it on Hulu?
Yeah,
so.
Right. They
because
looked
they
at
also
their content and they said, like, this is the family friendly stuff, and everything else, which is a lot of FX stuff, we can put that into Hulu.
But if this means that we'll get more international Hulu originals, like they had a bunch of other stuff like Moon Boy and other things through the years that were great, want more of that. So
a new report called the On the Air report from research firm Glance estimates that 10,600 new television series were launched worldwide in 2019, and that's just in 50 markets that they consider key television markets. 4,600 of those 10,600 were fiction. The rest were reality or news or something like that. History-based fiction and supernatural fiction were two of the most common types of fictional content. There were twice the number of original game shows launched in 2019 as in 2017. So in 2 years, they doubled the number. Also, when looking just at France, Italy, Spain, the UK, and the United States, 10% of viewing was catch-up viewing, where shows are watched more than a week after the premiere. I thought that would be bigger, to be honest. And in the UK, previewing an episode online before the first episode actually aired, looks like it boosted the audience by 37%.
Which do you think is bigger, the market for people wanting to watch TV or the market for people who want to know how to have a successful TV show? And I say that half jokingly because I'm talking about this big number when it comes to television, but quite seriously, this is kind of just a lagging indication of what we've already seen in the YouTube world. YouTube, of course, 15 years ago figured out that, oh, wait, it's just as fun to make TV as it is to watch TV. We're kind of seeing like a version of that only with actual TV.
Well, and also another, I'm glad you brought that up because I hadn't thought about this. Another thing that fed the YouTube boom was it got cheaper to make TV.
Right. And
so it also is cheaper for the big guys to make TV, which means they're like, wow, for actually less than our old budget, we can make more shows.
And then plus they're making it more accessible. So newsflash, if you make your stuff more accessible, more people watch it.
Yeah,
and I guess
for sure.
I guess first we see the boom of everybody being able to cheaply produce content on YouTube. Then we see Netflix discovering that you can fill an increasingly infinite number of niches. Now we're seeing so-called prime television enjoying that wave of cheaper production, cheaper talent, people who have come up through the so-called minor leagues of other online established content to tell their narrative fiction.
Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. And it explains two things. One, why I no longer take seriously when someone says I have to watch a show. So I need to find some new mark because there's just too many shows. And now I know why it's so hard to decide what show to watch because there's too many.
What I thought you were about to say is I no longer take someone seriously when they say I have to watch a show or when they tell me they have a show. I take neither of them seriously.
I hadn't thought about that. No, I take you very seriously, Brian. Okay.
Thank you. Meanwhile, variety sources say that Sam Raimi is in talks to direct that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness TV or movie. Scott Derrickson has left the project in January over creative differences. Production is scheduled to start in May. Not gonna lie, Tom, don't know how in love I am with the idea of the guy who directed Spider-Man 3 doing the Multiverse of Madness.
He also did Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Which were great for their time.
I'm super excited about this.
Are you?
Because it means the chances of getting Bruce Campbell in this movie have just increased exponentially.
It also the ideas of the expectation of Benedict Cumberbatch making a wacky face as a camera zooms in on him just got up exponentially as well.
Oh my God! Can Benedict Cumberbatch at one point say groovy? How about this one? Quibi aired 5 more ads during the Oscar night telecast, including one with an astronaut nearly out of air, a person sinking in quicksand, an asteroid about to hit Earth, a cowboy being tied to the train tracks as a train approaches, and a zombie outbreak, all with people saying that their doom was coming in a Quibi.
Tom, as head of the PR firm, I don't know who decided that all of the themes of all of the episodes should be impending disaster.
I mean,
who decided
one or
this was a
two
good idea?
maybe would not be so bad. You could have a pregnancy, right? That would be a good thing that's coming in a Quibi that, like telling the
I got more
mother to
episodes.
get ready.
The audit comes back and you owe a bunch of money. There's a sell-off.
The
A guy
funding round
jumps
has
off a
failed,
building.
And yeah. Your investors are meeting with you to demand their money back in a Quibi.
I will say, after I heard about these and watched them, I didn't hate them as much as I thought I was gonna. I rather enjoyed a couple of them.
It's getting better than the Super Bowl one where it's starting to make sense. And I think that's the plan here, is to hit you over the head with like, oh, I get it. They're short. Okay. And to show you Bill Murray, to show you Chris Rock, show you big names. So you're like, oh, this service is actually going to have like stars on it.
So do you think that anybody in the public is actually going to start saying in a Quibi?
No. Well, yes, somebody will, and
so.
then they'll be
yes,
either
I believe
eye rolled or punched.
Meg Whitman will be using it as often as she
definitely.
can.
Good point.
She's like, when will this go bankrupt? In a Quibi. Let's finish by highlighting a couple of apps coming to a couple TVs. Pluto TV will not only be available on the Hisense TVs, but also Hisense TVs sold in Mexico and the U.S. this spring will have Pluto TV button on their remote. Still don't know about putting things on remotes. The Apple TV app is now available on 2019 LG TVs in more than 80 countries.
Yeah, we told people the Apple TV app was coming to the LG, but it's there now if you haven't looked for it. By the way, I think it was The Verge who pointed out that this means that there's an Apple app for a Palm operating system now.
WebOS.
Well, yeah, but WebOS is from Palm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Originally, and then they sold it. They sold it off, and LG bought it.
That's it's like the ghost of Palm.
Yeah, it's the Palm Heritage operating system. But yeah, the the Pluto TV stuff, I know what you mean about the remote button, because they always end up going out of business. It's like a curse.
I've got two different Rokus with an RDO and a PlayStation View button
and a Voodoo button on there, and
yeah.
Yep.
Well, the Voodoo's still in business.
Sure,
Voodoo's still around.
Probably
Voodoo's
not one of the top four buttons I press on my remote, though.
Yeah, probably not. Also, then there's the name change, right? The MGO button will launch Fandango now, but who's going to sit there besides me and go, oh, MGO? That, of course, became Fandango now. I know what it's going to launch. All right. Let's talk about some dispatches from the front. Alan says, Brian, regarding Roku having a dispute with Fox as a great sign of the maturity of the platform, that's kind of like praising a city in a developing country for achieving pollution and traffic jams. Nicole's attitude that it's inevitable seems right, but I was hoping with Tom that the new system would avoid this issue, kind of like when third world countries skip landlines and go straight to mobile phones.
I would say the latter is fairly rare. The former, to anyone who's played Civilization, is almost inevitable. Just play more SimCity and you'll see how rarely you get to leapfrog an entire generation of technology.
And if I can add to that, once you get to that point, then you have to do something about that pollution, or your citizens in your cities get mad. So
unless you switch
Roku
to
and Fox,
just have yourself a revolution, go to communism just long enough to invade the next country, then you flip back to democracy. Never mind.
Mark what do you think the chances of Roku going to communism are?
Mark writes in saying about the person who could not show the Super Bowl outside of his area. Sling/Air TV is great for this. Allows you to watch out of the area markets. While he was in Southern Illinois with his in-laws over Christmas, he was watching Charlotte TV with the whole time. Plus, when there was a tornado warning, he was able to watch the local TV updates of the tracking in his car to see if he needed to take shelter. That's pretty wild. Thinking about watching a live broadcast, I certainly know that the last couple of times I've watched live TV in and of the moment were when we thought there was a tornado about to land.
I don't think Sling TV means you to watch out of area markets.
Oh,
that doesn't seem like something that the channels would agree to for carriage.
So it's an off-label use.
If it's Sling with an Air TV, aren't you getting your over-the-air channels over the air? I'm confused by this. I'm confused by this email. Also, it doesn't really address the person who was in a car. It's easy to get these to change when you're stationary. His problem was like as he was moving, it just told him like, you can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I was say I'm always out of market because my YouTube family is out of Portland. I'm in Minneapolis, and I travel a lot, and I've never had any problems, plug my Roku in. But I wasn't using mobile, so
you were. Yeah, it's when he was actually moving between the markets that he ran into the problem. Then finally, Byron said, "Just wanted to share why I already have a real hate on for the Cock streaming service. Specifically, it has to do with Psych, the movie 2, Lassie Come Home." Okay. As you may have heard before, the Psych series has a pretty rabid fan base. The second Psych movie was announced in early 2019 and was set to release in December of 2019 on the USA Network, same as the series in the first movie, possibly with a Christmas theme. However, with the announcement of the Peacock streaming service, NBC Universal was pleased to announce that Psych 2 would be a Peacock original movie. So that meant instead of December 2019, the fan base would have to wait until April 2020. So, okay, fine. I'll have to wait a few months and sign up for a new service. However, now they officially announced it's April 15th, 2020 for Xfinity subscribers and July 15th for everyone else. Seeing as I am in an area that does not have Xfinity, they have officially soured my opinion of this service. I will definitely just buy this movie, which I hope will still be an option, and avoid the cock at all costs.
I think buy this movie is code for something if this movie's not available for sale. This is one of those, it feels like it's inbounds to make something an exclusive. If you are essentially placing a wager that there's a lot of people who love a thing, we can bring it to them, we'll just make it exclusive, put it behind the paywall. Obviously, we're watching Picard. I finally signed up for CBS All Access, but if Picard was available 3 months earlier to subscribers of a particular, let's say, Northeastern cable service or whatever, then if I wanted it enough, then you enter, it's almost like a throwback to the HBO days where they were enjoying the notoriety of being the most pirated content out there on the internet because they specifically made it so hard there was no legal way to buy or get it outside of
this is all psychological. If this was a movie in the theaters and they delayed it, you'd be upset, but you'd still go see it. I think Byron, however, has made a very rational choice, which is I don't want to wait, and if I can buy it in April, I'll do that. It's worth it to me to buy it because it actually would save him money if he waited. He could watch it for free on the free tier of Peacock. So yeah, I mean, this is a rational way to approach the problem and say like, oh, what's it worth to me to be able to watch it as soon as I can versus having to wait for it.
Scooper Nova Girl in the chat with the slam dunk explains that. So essentially their announcement was that it would be July 15th. Psych.
Psych.
It's almost like a shell game.
Oh, is that a line from the show?
No.
Okay.
No. I was just gonna say, as a fan, I agree with him. It feels like a shell game. They said, "Oh, hey, here it is." Oh, wait, now it's now it's over on this other service.
It's all about. But you told me, Dad. If Dad had not told you this was coming out at all, and then said, "Guess what? It's coming in July," and then a month later said, "Oh, but if you're on Comcast, you'll get an early preview." People are mad. They're not this mad. It's all about the order of operations here.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, that's anchoring, and it's a real psychological construct, and you should think about it before you start making announcements about when things are going to happen.
Yeah, totally. Sadly, that's the end of our show. Thank you, Clyde, for joining us. Where can people find what you do, including the VOD Squad?
Oh, hey, we do the VOD Squad every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central, here on Twitch. And also every month, a bunch of us in Diamond Club, we get together, we watch movies for the Diamond Club Movie Party. This month...
Now, are you using the... we had talked about the party streaming stuff that you could do?
No, there's too much restrictions. So we've found we have a private meeting because we are not allowed to broadcast.
Sure.
But it's been working out pretty well. We used a couple different tools through the years, but yeah, we do that every month. Our next party will be next Saturday on the 22nd. And then also, if you are in the Midwest and you've been looking for a Diamond Club event, you should consider coming out to Turtle Days in Indiana. This will be in June will be our second event. We invade a town of Churubusco outside of Fort Wayne.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun last year.
Where could people go to learn about that?
So just follow at DC Movie Party on Twitter. We have a channel on the Diamond Club Discord where we do most of our shenanigans.
Yep. And DC is for Diamond Club. They do watch Marvel films. Thank you, folks. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried at diamondclub.tv. Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Talk to you again next week.
Hey, Tom Merritt.
Yes, Brian Brushwood.
Know who I love even more than my own children?
Your other children?
No, not my wife. I know what you're saying. I love our $5 patrons. These are the people that keep us loud, live, and independent. Thank you so much, $5 patrons.
You know what? I love them more than not life itself, because then I'd be dead and I couldn't appreciate them, but really, really, really close. And I'm so thankful that they are here to make this show happen.
Thank you so much to all of our $5 a month patrons. You guys are wizards. You're champions.
Thank you, everyone.
You're heroes.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.